Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Today we are talking about an important topic that a lot of you have asked about, how to drill straight without a drill press. We've also apparently decided to make this video with the most distracting background possible. I apologize, we'll move, but we're in the process of cleaning this place, so it gets complicated. Anyway, there are a lot of circumstances in which you need to be able to drill straight vertical, into a piece. It's important. And you know, I catch some hell occasionally on my channel for not using a drill press when I maybe should. Fair enough. Not everybody has access to these big industrial drill presses, right? And a lot of you are working from home, you're working in your shops, in your garage, or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you don't have room for this stuff. I don't in my garage. Or maybe you have a drill press, but it's one of these small ones where you don't have a lot of room between the pillar and the post here. And so if you need to drill further out into a piece, you can't, because you're restricted with the amount of space you can get away from the edge of anything. Now that problem with edges isn't restricted to just the small drill presses. That still applies on some of these big guys. Sometimes you got a big piece and you need to drill closer to the center than this. It is what it is. There are ways to do this. Now there are actually a couple of great tool options for this, to be able to use a hand drill and drill nice and straight. We're focusing on a specific type today because it's more like a drill press, but there are also vertical drilling guides that you can use, and frankly, I like to use a combination of the two. We'll get into that in a subsequent video. I do have a video coming out kind of end of this year, early next year, about how to drill ferrule holes for guitars. I know I've had a few questions about those, and for that I'm going to use a combination of the two methods. I'm going to show how to do this perfectly without a drill press. But for today's purposes, we're focused on a particular type of tool, which is kind of a drill press, but not really. So I have two of these here. I've got my really old one. It's a nice old metal piece, and it works, but it's kind of rickety and it's missing a little bit of the functionality that some of these newer guys have. And I just bought this. So we're gonna play with this just a little bit in today's video. And I'm gonna put one or two options for this in the Amazon link in the description of this video. So if you're interested in one of these at the end of this video, feel free to go check it out there. If you pick it up through there, it helps me out. So you can see what I mean here. If I need to drill a perfectly straight hole, for example, in this bench top, if I were installing bench dogs and I wanted to do like the Forstner bit straight down, I can't cram this into a drill press, but I can use one of these or one of these to do this. So this is the old version. And what you do to use this guy is you either buy a chuck set for it, or you remove the chuck from your drill, install it on the bottom of this, install your drill on the top. And it's just a guide. It runs perfectly vertical on the two posts, and you can run it up and down. This one is a little smaller, just big enough for the drill, and that's it. Enough about that. This is the one that I just picked up. This has a nice handle on it. It actually allows me to adjust the angle simply by unscrewing the top here, changing the angle and screwing it back in. So it locks into 90, 75, 60, and 45 degrees. You will have to make sure that your base is solid if you're trying to drill at 45, because you're going to be pushing this thing sideways, but it's got rubber feet on it. It's got the extra handle and, to make sure that you're nice and stable, and importantly, it's got its own chuck setup. So I can install a bit in here. Get my chuck tool that came with it, of course. That in there nicely. This just kind of sits in one of the feet. I've got a depth stop. Now the depth stop's plastic on this guy, but it still works. You bring it up to measure your height if you need to get to a specific depth. If I only want to drill, you know, part way down, and I crank that down. Not going to use that for today's video because I don't need to. And then I just chuck my drill here onto the top. Get her tightened up. Boom, drill press. Pretty simple. I don't love the idea of drilling into my bench here, but I could. Ooh, where are you going? Whoop. So I'm just going to drill into a piece of MDF to show you what I'm talking about. Again, there are a couple different options and a couple different tools to be able to do this sort of thing. This is going to work just fine. There's also a notch here, straight and at an angle, if you want to drill into pipe. Pretty cool stuff. A little easier even than a drill press in some cases. So Simple as that. It's got a spring, unlike the old one, so I don't have to pull it back up. It just comes back up. I think you guys get the picture. Pretty easy to take off after too. There's a hole in this now and it's straight. So there it is, guys. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. One thing I will say, those little guides that allow you to get started perfectly straight, those are really nice, especially for thin bits. Okay, so we'll cover in another video kind of how to do the combination of the two. Those get thin bits, like 1/8 inch bits, stuff like that, that tend to wander a little bit. Nice and straight because they only poke out the bottom that far. Okay, so they're a good way to start a nice straight hole, and then you finish it off with one of these. Conversely, they also take up some space, so you can't drill as far, as deep with those as you can with this. You're gonna want both, probably, if you're anything like me, and I'll put both in the Amazon link in case you do actually want both, but this is it. This is for my house, for my garage, which is where I'm going now with this. This is my drill press. I'm not going to buy a full-on one. I'm just gonna use this. I may eventually buy a full-on one, but I really don't have space for it. All right, guys, that is it. That is how you drill perfectly straight without a drill press, and you can actually do it at various angles, which is something that's very difficult to do with a drill press. So you've got some added versatility with these. They're a good tool to have, and I certainly like mine. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. It helps me out, which is kind of weird, but yeah, it is what it is. And remember to subscribe so you can see the rest of the stuff I have coming out. Thanks again. Hope you liked it. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.